order. Regular meeting number 15 will now come to order.
We have to, let's see. Agenda,
Wait a
page
minute.
11 on the agenda.
Okay.
I'm sorry, President Hart, I've muted everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and get started if folks are ready. All right. Regular meeting number 15 will now come to order. May we please now have the playing of the national anthem. Councilmember Remy, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Council Member. Tonight, Council is pleased and appreciative to have Rabbi Alex Braver with us. He's Associate Rabbi at Congregation Tiferet Israel, who will pray with us, pray over us as we go through this council meeting. Rabbi, it's so great to see you.
Thank you so much, Council President Harden. It's a pleasure to see you, even virtually, and to see everyone here. Bruchim Habaim, which in Hebrew means, may you who have come here be blessed. So may you all be blessed as you have come together virtually and in the many ways you do in person to do the work of the people of our city. It's an honor to have the chance to open this meeting with words of prayer. In my tradition, in the Jewish tradition, we just celebrated the holiday of Passover, and it celebrates the liberation of our people from centuries of slavery. It's a story that has given us strength and meaning through times of persecution and oppression for the last 2,000 years of Jewish history. And it's a story that has inspired people all over the world in their own fights for freedom, from oppression, and from all the isms that afflict us even to this day. We remember how God freed us from there, B'yad chazaka v'zroa netuyah, as the Hebrew Bible says, with a strong hand and with a mighty arm. And we affirm with that our belief that there is justice in this world, that we have to be committed to hearing and answering the cries of the oppressed, and that we have to use our own strong hands and our own mighty arms to help those who are in need. And yet the Hebrew Bible reminds us that the exodus from Egyptian slavery was about more than just breaking free. In the book of Exodus, God says in the original Hebrew, Shlach ami v'ya'avduni, let my people go so that they may serve me. That second part is often left out, so that they may serve me. The ultimate aim of freedom isn't just to be able to do whatever we want. The ultimate aim of freedom is to serve a higher sacred purpose. After freedom, the Israelites received the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai, along with lots of other rules and regulations, and they set to the task of creating a just and sacred society, first while wandering the desert, and then after crossing the Jordan River into the Promised Land. May the work that you do in this virtual chamber, and God willing soon in the real chamber, be dedicated to such a higher purpose, the purpose of using our freedom for the higher purpose of creating a society founded on justice and the inherent dignity and worth of each person created in God's image. May your work help the people of our city experience liberation and freedom, and then may it inspire us all, by your example, to seek out ways to serve a higher purpose, however we may each define it. Baruch Shomei Tefillah, blessed is the one and all of the one's many manifestations who hears our prayers. And let us say amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi. We really appreciate you being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
This week's communication received by the clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any resolutions or announcements by members of council, starting with President Pro Tem?
None from me. Thank you, Council President.
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Mitch Brown.
Nothing for me this evening, sir.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Dorrance.
Thank you, Council President. One announcement and one resolution this evening. First, want to let everyone know that City Council is partnering with the Department of Neighborhoods and Jewish Columbus to commemorate the remembrance of the Holocaust this Friday, April 9th at noon. This is an annual event to help ensure we never forget the 6 million Jews, as well as at least 3 million non-Jews that were lost during the Holocaust. We will hear from a Columbus Holocaust survivor, and he will tell his story and share that with us. This event will be broadcast on Council's Facebook page and the city's YouTube channel. Special thanks go to Miss Gail Gray of the Department of Neighborhoods, our CTV team, Mr. Andy Stout and Miss Josie Smith, and Mr. Justin Shaw of Jewish Columbus and our City Council team for making this important event happen, even though we're only able to do it virtually this year. Next, I have resolution number 0057X-2021 to express support for protecting the right to organize act, or better known as the PRO Act. This is the most significant piece of labor reform legislation introduced at the federal level since the enactment of the National Labor Relations Act, which granted collective bargaining rights to American workers in 1935. The NLRA states in part that, quote, "It is the policy of the United States that a sound and stable industrial peace and advancement of the general welfare, health, and safety of the nation, and the best interest of employers and employees can be satisfactorily secured by the settlement of issues between employers and employees through the process of conferences and collective bargaining between employers and representative of employees." The NLRA not only creates collective bargaining rights for Americans, but it encourages it. It's not only good for workers, but also employers and society as a whole. Unfortunately, over the past several decades, it's become much more difficult for workers to band together to form a union and ensure they are treated fairly in their workplace. Whether it's the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in Janus versus AFSCME, which created a so-called right to work law nationally for public sector unions, corporations spending millions of dollars on anti-union campaigns, like what Amazon is doing right now in Bessemer, Alabama, or employers simply firing any worker that have sought to organize a union, like what happened here in Columbus several months ago when the management of the Mid-Ohio Habitat for Humanity fired several union supporters and then faced no consequences. Since the enactment of the NLRA, the deck has been increasingly stacked against workers and their ability to form a union. Research from the Economic Policy Institute demonstrates that as union density in the United States fell in the second half of the 20th century, the share of the wealth going to the top 10% skyrocketed. That's where the PRO Act comes in. This legislation will help finally put workers on an even playing field. It will give workers a free and fair choice in whether to form a union, ensure workers can reach a first contract quickly after a union is recognized, and employers' practice of punishing striking workers by hiring permanent replacements, hold corporations accountable with real penalties for illegally retaliating against workers who organize. The PRO Act will also help make sure that America's economy works for working people and help raise stagnant wages that have only increased a mere 9% from 1973 to 2013, while productivity increased 74% during that same time period. Wage stagnation and runaway inequality of political, social, and economic power have undermined the public space in our own democracy at times. Through the expansion of collective bargaining under the PRO Act, there will be increases in pay and protections for women, people of color, immigrants, and the LGBTQ plus community in areas where those protections lack today. As many know, I'm a proud third generation union member. My dad actually just retired this past week after nearly 41 years in his union. Through his hard work and his union standing up for him, my family had a chance at the American dream. More folks in our community deserve the chance to have a voice in the workplace and economic stability that is brought through collective bargaining. I know I'm not alone in this council with that experience. President Hardin's brother is a member of my local union, IBW 683. Councilmember Remy's wife is a union school teacher here in Columbus, and himself a former member of the Teamsters Union. Councilmember Mitch Brown is a former United Auto Workers member. President Pro Tem Brown is a former member of the Communication Workers of America. Councilmember Favor's father is a retired member of the IBEW, and Councilmember Tyson has spent countless hours in nearly every union hall in our city during her long long history in public service. This is why this council expresses support for the PRO Act, which stands to greatly increase economic opportunity in America and empower workers through the promotion and expansion of collective bargaining. To talk more about the importance of this resolution, I've invited Mark Fluharty, Executive Director of the AFL-CIO Central Ohio Labor Council, to address us this evening. Mark, you with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Council President Hardin, Councilman Dorans, esteemed members of City Council, for the ability to speak on the resolution supporting the PRO Act. My name is Mark Fluharty, and I'm the Director of the Central Ohio Labor Council. Protecting the right to organize. Now, Rob touched a few highlights that I think are important that I'm also going to touch. And let's start with a little bit of labor history. So the National Labor Relations Act of 1935 is really the founding document that gives unions the right to exist. Things got there, and it was very difficult. Our labor history is full of strife and blood and violence. But finally, in 1935, workers got the right to organize, and then things started to look up from there. Unfortunately, we hit the Great Depression and then World War II. But coming out of World War II, the greatest generation, unions started to grow. Government oversight of unions ended up giving us the Taft-Hartley Act in 1947, taking away hard-fought rights that unions had, giving us things like right to work. The Labor Management Act was passed even though it was vetoed by President Harry S. Truman. It was the only override that Truman had. Let us jump ahead now to August 31st, 1981, when then President Ronald Reagan delivers a blow to labor unions that we still have not recovered from yet. Yes, the firing of the PATCO workers who were permanently replaced from their jobs. That led to 12 years of worker concessions at the bargaining table. It's time, my fellow brothers and sisters, to level the playing field for the American worker. We have had no labor law reform in this country since 1947. And as we know, that was not in the workers' favor. Let's talk about the PRO Act of 2021. Unions are a key to the American dream. As we all have seen in the pandemic, the lack of health care, living wages, adequate food, and housing. Unions are the key to the American dream. Unions improve pay and working conditions for all workers, especially workers of color, minorities, and women. The National Labor Relations Act is broken and must be fixed. Again, we have had no labor law reform in this country since 1947. Workers need a level playing field. And we need the PRO Act now. We need the PRO Act to ensure good jobs for working people. We need the PRO Act to address inequality. We need to proact to fix our economy. We need to proact to fix our democracy. We need to proact to promote racial justice and eradicate all kinds of discrimination. We need to proact to give working people a real say in their future. In closing, I ask you to support the resolution and contact Senator Rob Portman and demand that he support the PRO Act to help restore the middle class to the American worker. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Fluharty, for being here with us tonight. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments before I move for adoption?
Councilmember.
President Pro Tem?
I just quickly want to thank President Fluharty for being here. Thank you, Councilmember, for bringing this forward. And just have to mention that President Fluharty said this at the sort of end of his remarks about how unions help bring equity to the workplace and equity to our society. And I want to mention, because we just recently commemorated Equal Pay Day, which is the marker for the average woman's pay, 82 cents on the white male dollar. In August will be Black Women's Equal Pay Day. In October will be Latina Equal Pay Day. And the pay gap in among union members, we're used to these numbers: 82 cents, 64 cents, 59 cents on the dollar. In union membership, the last I saw this quoted a couple years ago, it was 97 cents on the dollar. And that just goes to show how when workers can collectively bargain, come together, make their voices heard collectively, we actually have a fighting chance for equity. So I wanted to underscore what President Fluharty said with one of my favorite stats about the power of collective bargaining.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. Anyone else?
Rob?
Tyson.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Dorns. I also want to say, even though I've been in a lot of union halls, I will also say that my father worked at Rockwell International, and based upon the work of him being in the union, was certainly had the opportunity to be able to provide for his family in a way that that would help us to be able to enhance our overall quality of life. So I certainly understand the value of collective bargaining and being a part of in a union environment. It does change your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Seeing no one else, I move for adoption.
Yeah.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Adopted. Thank you, Councilmember Dorans, and thank you to Mr. Fluharty for the advocacy. And hope this resolution helps show where this council is in support of the PRO Act. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And thank you, President Harden. That is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Favor. Okay. I can do Councilmember Remy real quick if you'd like. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. I have one announcement this evening. The Council Residential Districting Commission will begin hosting community meetings this month. The first meeting will be held on Thursday, April 15th from 5:30 to 7:30. The second meeting will be on Wednesday, April 28th from 4 to 6. Both of these meetings will be educational with a focus on the Voting Rights Act, socioeconomics and urban planning, as well as area commissions and civic associations. Both meetings will be virtual and in person for those who with technology challenges. We are encouraging attendees to join virtually if possible. Actually, I lied. I have two announcements this evening. I will also host a virtual town hall on Thursday, April 22nd from 5:30 to 7:30 to discuss the process of the council residential districting commission and what it means. And that is all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. We're going to go to Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you, President Harden. And tonight I do have, I have two resolutions, and I'll go ahead and read the first. The first resolution is Resolution 53X-2021, recognizing support for child abuse prevention. To recognize the Franklin County Children's Services and the Center for Healthy Families Commission on Black Girls on their joint Pinwheels for Prevention campaign, enhancing community awareness regarding child abuse and neglect and the intersectionality of racism, specifically to Black girls in Franklin County, and to encourage a support for the prevention in all forms of abuse. Whereas many residents of the city of Columbus and Franklin County are unaware of the extent to which child abuse and neglect impact our community and the disproportionality of abuse and neglect happening to Black girls every year in Franklin County. And whereas Franklin County Children's Services strives to prevent the abuse and neglect of children by strengthening families. Whereas the Center for Healthy Families, through its work with the Commission on Black Girls, is leading the charge in addressing the complex conditions that exacerbate the disproportionate responses to care for Black girls and Black children. Whereas the Center for Healthy Families expanded its commitment to improving the quality of life and outcomes for Black girls by becoming the permanent home of the work for the Commission on Black Girls. And whereas the Franklin County Children's Services and the Center for Healthy Families are taking a blended approach to preventing all forms of abuse, neglect, and the intersectionality of racism. Whereas Franklin County Children's Services and the Center for Healthy Families are creating a community-level advocacy to bridge pathways that positively transform Black girls' lives, thus all girls and children collectively. Whereas Franklin County Children's Services and the Center for Healthy Families Pinwheels for Prevention campaign, campaign about child abuse, neglect, and the intersectionality of racism by encouraging support for prevention by displaying the pinwheels in front of courthouses, playgrounds, libraries, and parks, with each pinwheel representing one adult who acted on behalf of a child. And whereas the Pinwheels for Prevention campaign is an annual program that's grown since its inception in 2021 and marks the first of this combined effort between the Center for Healthy Families and Franklin County Children's Services. And whereas the Pinwheels for Prevention campaign dramatically illustrates to the public that child abuse and neglect happens in every community and encourages all community members to focus on prevention as a part of an overall plan to break the cycle of child abuse, neglect, and the intersectionality of racism. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus, this council does hereby recognize the Franklin County Children's Services, the Center for Healthy Families, Commission on Black Girls on their joint Pinwheels for Prevention campaign, enhancing community awareness regarding child abuse and neglect and the intersectionality of racism specific to Black girls in Franklin County, and to encourage support for the prevention of all forms of abuse. And be it resolved that a copy of the resolution to be presented to Franklin County Children's Services and the Center for Healthy Family Commission on Black Girls with our utmost esteem. And now I move for adoption.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you. Accepting the resolutions will be Tashia Safford, the President and CEO for the Center for Healthy Families, and Ms. Steele for the Malika Director, Volunteer Services and Child Enrichment Department of Franklin County Children's Services.
Tyson. Good evening, and thank you, President Harden, Councilmember Tyson, and members of council. One question: how do we move the needle on improving the quality of life outcomes for Black women and girls? Simple: by taking the lead in defining the metrics to which our community can connect the dots. As Councilmember Tyson stated, we are proud that the expansion of the work of the Center for Healthy Families is now committed to addressing health-related social conditions covertly socialized by institutional and systemic practices. This blended approach to confront disparities was ignited, as you all know, by the permanent location of the work of the Commission on Black Girls. As we move forward, we want to make sure that we take the lead in addressing complex issues that exacerbate the disproportionate responses to care for Black girls and Black children. The work that we have ahead is difficult. We commit to being intentional in seeking disaggregated data and the analysis of the impact of misaligned practices. In appreciation of this new accountability, we are grateful to partner in this first public engagement with Director Chip Spinning and Franklin County Children's Services to inform our entire community of efforts to promote prevention, all forms of abuse, neglect, but more specifically, the intersectionality of racism. We need all of your support to move forward. It is our goal to collectively engage individuals, families, the entire community that are instrumental to addressing this issue. President Hardin, Councilmember Tyson, and members of council, we are grateful that you are valuable partners in this work. So as you know, April is Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect. And we ask you to join us on April 10th as we create a visual display of pinwheels in a manner that will educate the public of its role for preventing the combined public crisis of child abuse. We are also so grateful to City Council and the Mayor for supporting our work by turning City Hall blue in recognition of the prevention of child abuse and neglect, but more importantly, the impact that it has on Black girls. We ask that Central Ohio that you join us because preventing child abuse and neglect is everyone's responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Safford. And now Ms. Steele.
Good evening, Councilmember Tyson, President Hardin. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you so much for your partnership. It's really important to be a part of a city who really wants to hit racism and connect the dots between racism and how we show up for our children and those underserved communities. And so again, I just want to say thank you for this joint effort in hitting it head on in addressing the community and really putting in the work that is necessary to eradicate those systematic inequities, the systematic racism that keeps our Black girls in particular stagnant and keeps them exactly where they are. With education of our community, for sure will come the resources, the support that we need to move the needle for our Black girls. And so with this partnership, we just look to really look at those barriers. We look to eradicate those barriers, and we look to make sure that the vulnerable population of the Black girls that we serve here in our city is addressed through partnership, through collaboration, and through supportive resources for the city. Tashia, you said a mouthful, and so I just really want to echo the sentiments of you in the collaboration. And as Franklin County Children's Services is the entity that is responsible for abuse and neglect of our community's children, it really is a community responsibility to ensure the safety and permanency and well-being for our children. So as we work to make this happen from a community perspective, we always want to make sure that we're addressing those issues, again, those systematic inequalities that are the issue and are the problematic root cause of why our girls are such a population that we need to serve and we need to look out for. And so again, I just thank you for the pinwheels and for this, for the support of the community. As I represent Franklin County Children's Services, our executive director, Mr. Chip Spinning, we want to make sure that we are accessible and that we are really partnering with the community. So we just say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Steele. And thank you for Ms. Safford for which will bring to the attention of our community by the pinwheels being on the grounds of City Hall to draw attention to not only child abuse within this community, but how child abuse has a such an impact on Black girls in our community. And thank you very much for your leadership. And again, you'll see these pinwheels in our as you drive down Broad Street, you'll see these pinwheels, and there'll be more information coming out really about with statistics and numbers about our girls. So thank you for both of you for your leadership. Thank you.
Yeah.
Our next resolution is 56X, and it is to recognize, that's 2021, and it is to recognize Columbus Public Health to celebrate April the 5th through the 11th of 2021 as the 26th anniversary of the National Public Health Week, and it's building bridges to better health. Whereas public health is the foundation of our community's health, safety, and well-being as it touches everyone, regardless of race, gender, religion, sexuality, geographic location, or social economic status. Moreover, it is paramount to building a bridge for a healthier community. And whereas we are in the midst of the most challenging public health crisis of our lifetimes, therefore, it is important to celebrate our public health officials and to show our appreciation and thanks for the work they continue to do to keep our community safe. Whereas April the 5th through the 11th of 2021, again, has been declared National Public Health Week. And this year, the National Public Health Week theme, Building Bridges to Better Health. This campaign will be comprised of daily themes to encourage our communities to focus on various public health topics and identify ways we can make a difference, working to assure that everyone can do their part. The themes will be on Monday, it's about rebuilding. Tuesday, advancing racial equity. Wednesday, strengthening community. Thursday, galvanizing climate justice. Friday, constructing COVID-19 resilience. Saturday, uplifting mental health and wellness. And Sunday, elevating the essential health workforce. And whereas the members of Columbus City Council acknowledge the dedication and diligence of Columbus Public Health staff in protecting, promoting, and ensuring the health and safety of our community. The public health professionals at CPH have been on the front lines, tracking the coronavirus, limiting the spread of the disease, working to educate and protect the public from emerging public health threats, providing invaluable contributions to the health and safety of our community. And whereas this council calls upon the residents of the City of Columbus to observe National Public Health Week and to embrace the National Public Health Week theme, Building Bridges to Better Health, not only during the week of April the 5th through the 5th through the 11th, but each and every week by encouraging and helping our families, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and leaders to better understand the value of public health and to adopt preventive lifestyle habits, to follow public health guidance, and to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus and other preventable diseases. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that this council does hereby recognize Columbus Public Health and celebrate April the 5th through the 11th of 2021 as the 26th anniversary of the National Public Health Week, Building Bridges to Better Health. And be it resolved that this council expresses its endorsement for the efforts of Columbus Public Health to better inform the community about the importance of public health. And furthermore, this council steadfastly supports the department's efforts to build a healthier and safe community. I now move for adoption, I'm sorry.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you. And accepting this resolution will be our very own Health Commissioner, Dr. Mashika Roberts. Dr. Roberts.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me, and thank you, Councilmember Tyson, Chair Tyson. I really appreciate it. On behalf of all 500 employees at Columbus Public Health and all public health colleagues across the state and across the nation, I thank you. As you acknowledge, the last 12 months have been very challenging for public health. But we were up for the task, and we've been preparing for this moment for some time. And I'm appreciative of all the support that we have received from City Council this year and all the years prior to that. So thanks again for this acknowledgement and recognition, and appreciate all that you do for us every single day.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Any other comments for Dr. Roberts? Seeing none again, I just really want to thank you and your team for all that you have been doing, especially this year. You've now had 2 birthdays that you have not been able to go out. Last year was a significant birthday, and you were not able to enjoy that. And as of yesterday, you had another birthday. And so you've gone through many years of not being able to celebrate like you would normally do, but we are so grateful and thankful for you and your team's work. To help continue to move us forward so that we can continue to try to enjoy healthy lives and enhance our quality of life. So again, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And it's wonderful to share a birthday with you, Councilmember Tyson. And you know, sacrificing a birthday celebration is just one of the many things. But it pales in comparison to the lives that have been lost from this pandemic, and the not only loss of life, but whose lives have been drastically altered, whether it's their businesses, their quality of life, and things of that nature. So it's a small task that I am willing to pay for the health and safety of our community. So thank you.
Thank you. And I just have just a couple of announcements, and then I will. The first announcement, again, I want to make sure that this being Minority Health Month, I just want to make sure that our residents realize that they certainly have access to health care, not only through Columbus Public Health, but also through Primary One, who was our significant federally qualified health center partner, and that we do have an open enrollment. So if you need health insurance and in response to the COVID-19 emergency, Primary One is conducting special open enrollment that will last now through February the 15th. And if you are in need of health insurance, you can either contact Primary One at 614-620-8088. And then lastly, Columbus Public Health is certainly offering having COVID clinics, and you can general registrations open on Friday. You can email health@columbus.gov, or you can dial, you'll see when it comes up generally on Fridays, but the number is 614-645-6444. So again, we're so thankful to have Columbus Public Health Department that is meeting the needs of our residents. And Council President Harden, that concludes my announcements and my resolutions.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. I think we're going to go back to Councilmember Favor, who I think is, you're there and ready? Yeah, there you go.
Yes, I'm back. I apologize for the technical difficulties.
No
I just
problem.
have two announcements this evening. Grant applications for the Columbus Families Together Fund will be available this Wednesday, April 7th, 2021, and will stay open until April 28th, 2021. The grant application can be found on the Columbus City Council website at www.columbus.gov/council/Columbus Families Together Fund, all one word. The Columbus Families Together Fund was established in 2017 to protect immigrant and refugee families from the financial and emotional devastation that results from aggressive immigration enforcement through legal services, support, and education. We look forward to continuing this work in 2021 and want to give a quick shout out to Councilmember Elizabeth Brown and her team for really working hard to bring this program online in 2017. I will be hosting an informational session regarding the opportunity on April 14th from 3 to 4:30 p.m. Please reach out to my legislative assistant, Anissa Lieben, with any questions or concerns at aaliban@columbus.gov. Next, today I participated in an exciting announcement about the Next Home 2021 design competition. This competition is calling on all architects, builders, and housing developers to address Central Ohio's housing shortage by developing innovative ideas to provide quality housing for our diverse and growing population. Competitors will design a housing solution biddable for $170,000 that will break ground in 2022 and will be constructed in partnership with the Central Ohio Community Land Trust. The competition is collaboratively facilitated by the Neighborhood Design Center in partnership with Central Ohio Community Improvement Corporation, City of Columbus Land Redevelopment Division, and with the support from the American Institute of Architects Columbus and the Building Industry Association of Central Ohio. Interested parties can visit nexthome2021.org for more information and to register to participate. That is all I have, Council President Hart.
Thank you, Councilmember. Really quickly, just as we've been doing over the last few weeks, I'd like to provide a quick update regarding COVID-19, kind of layer on top of or pick up where Councilmember Tyson left off. As of today, Columbus Public Health has administered more than 92,000 total vaccinations. That amounts to around 58,000 first doses and 34,000 second doses. Across all providers in Franklin County, almost 400,000 vaccines have been administered. That means that around 30% of our county has received at least one vaccine at this point. Do anyone from public health, I still see Dr. Roberts, have anything else they'd like to hit on the vaccination, any other information?
The only thing I would like to thank you so much, Council President Harden, for acknowledging the hard work of not only Columbus Public Health, but all the vaccine providers in Franklin County. We continue to work really hard to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as we can. I think many of you are aware that the governor did make those who are 16 years of age and older eligible for the vaccine a week ago. And so we are working with all of our partners to try to get our college age students vaccinated, as well as those who are 16 to 18 in our K through 12 schools. So Nationwide Children's Hospital has agreed to vaccinate those individuals at school-based settings. At many of the high schools across Franklin County, including Columbus City School, kids will be eligible and can get vaccinated. So I'm really happy about that. We realize everyone in our community needs to be vaccinated, but particularly those younger individuals. We know that the majority of our cases here in Franklin County fall between the ages of 20 and 29. So it's really important that we get that age group vaccinated. I would just reiterate that if anyone wants a vaccine and wants it from Columbus Public Health, they can check out our website at columbus.gov/coronavirus, or they can give us a call at 614-645-1519, and we can get you registered for a vaccine. As Council Member Tyson mentioned, our vaccine slots open up every Friday morning at 8 a.m. So this Friday, when we open up again, we'll be vaccinating for the following Wednesday to Tuesday. That's when those appointment slots will be available. And we have Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson at our megapod at the Celeste Center.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roberts, and I will now add my appreciation as to what Councilmember Tyson, how she honored you and in the work that you guys are doing. Thank you so much in vaccinating all of us so we can get back out there. I think I saw last week President Pro Tem got her shot, and I was able to get my shot as well. So we're getting back out. Are there any comments from other elected officials? I see Madam Auditor, Ms. Deb from City Attorney's Office. Well, before starting into our committee business this evening, I wanted to take a moment to highlight how Council is continuing to reimagine public safety. On tonight's agenda, Council is voting on $1.5 million across 7 ordinances that aim to prevent violence and rebuild trust between the community and law enforcement. After many hearings, this is a start to our work with partners to keep neighborhoods safe, to keep our residents engaged, and especially to focus on young people. Tonight, you'll see us advancing funding for soccer programs, continuing to work with Professor David Kennedy and the National Network for Safe Communities, pay for first aid training to implement Andre's Law, invest in street-level intervention through Sean Stevenson and Elements of Change, continuing the great work of the TAPS program, which pairs teens and police with mentorship, funding for domestic violence, which shelters through Lutheran Social Services, and investing in workforce training and jobs for residents who've been involved in the judicial system. These contracts amount to approximately $1.5 million. So I'm excited to see these initiatives move forward. The group we heard from last Tuesday during our hearing submitted grant proposals, and Council is reviewing those initiatives and will advance the rest of those grant awards at the Council meeting on April 19th. All of those dollars will come from the Reimagining Safety Fund, which was seeded with $10 million during the budget process by this Council. Because these ordinances are spread across multiple committees, I thought it was important to highlight them all together at once. There are going to be many ways to invest in safety, and I believe Council is taking strong steps in the right direction that will show that we are reimagining safety, but more so keep our community safe and moving forward. So with that, I will turn We will move on to second agenda. Are there any requests by members of council for removal of an ordinance or resolution from the consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive reading of titles of 30-day legislation by the city clerk?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda?
Finance Committee, Ordinance 702-2021. Public Utilities Committee, Ordinances 717, 738, 746, and 756-2021. Economic Development Committee, Ordinance 775-2021.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Seeing no speakers on the first reading, the following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read those ordinances into the record?
Resolutions of Expression 54X-2021. Finance Committee, Ordinances 672, 808-2021. Public Safety Committee, Ordinance 700-2021. Public Utilities Committee, Ordinances 292, 294, 673, and 678-2021. Neighborhoods Committee, Ordinance 485-2021. Technology Committee, Ordinances 668 and 791-2021. Public Service and Transportation Committee, Ordinances 704 and 718-2021. Housing Committee, Ordinances 794, 798, and 807-2021. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, Ordinance 860-2021. Economic Development Committee, Ordinance 790-2021. Environment Committee, Ordinances 424 and 586-2021. Health and Human Services Committee, Ordinances 728, 752, 768-2021. Small and Minority Business Committee, Resolution 46X-2021, and Ordinances 777 and 778-2021. And we have one appointment from the Mayor's Office numbered A0074-2021.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have one speaker on the consent portion of the agenda. We have Mr. Joe Motil, who's speaking on ordinance 0794-2021.
Yes, good evening. Can everybody hear me?
I can. Welcome back to council, Mr. Motil, and just remind you, you have 3 minutes.
Great, thank you. President Harden, Pro Tem Brown, Chairwoman Faber, I'm speaking regarding the $976,000 of the hotel motel tax that's being allocated for Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We are all aware that the decrease in revenue from the hotel motel excise tax, which goes towards the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, would be considerably less this year due to the impact that COVID pandemic has had on our city's tourism and convention business. And I think it's fair to say that nearly everyone is optimistic that our city's tourism and convention business will rebound in the next year or two as more and more people get vaccinated and rates of infection are reduced. And sure, the $976,000 that's going towards the trust fund is better than nothing, but in my opinion, even the 2019 expenditure of $1.9 million in lodging excise taxes could be even more. And the solution to that lies on who's receiving a share of these taxes and how much of a share. Currently, the trust fund receives 8.43%, which is the lowest of the 4 entities that receives a portion of this tax revenue, with the highest being the Convention and Visitors Bureau at 46.86%, Cultural Services and Community Enrichment at 32.94%, and the Emergency Human Services Fund at 11.77%. Cultural Services, which includes arts organizations, have been and will continue to receive additional revenue from City Council's approval of a 5% ticket tax that was approved a year ago. By reducing their share of hotel tax revenue by 13%, while receiving the additional revenue from the art tax, they will still be well ahead of revenues that they would expect to receive from the hotel tax along with the combined art tax. I also feel that the Convention and Visitors Bureau can afford to do some belt tightening in reducing its share of hotel tax revenues by 7%. This 20% total reduction from these two benefactors would go towards the Housing Trust Fund while increasing its tax revenues to 28.43%, or just over $6 million annually. I'd also want to say that I will never get over the fact that this city council approved of a 70% of the bed taxes generated from the North Market Tower project to be used to subsidize that development. And this was a misuse of this revenue and should never happen again. And to be clear, I am not suggesting that the proposals I made this evening go into effect at this time, but when our local economy has recovered, and above all, the tourism and convention businesses, which generates our hotel motel tax revenues. Other ideas on funding for our affordable housing, which there are many. For example, Austin, Texas more than doubled its funds for affordable housing, and private investors in that city are also establishing a $500 million private equity fund to preserve affordable rental units. Columbus could include perhaps a $250 million bond voter approved package where funds would be split into home ownership assistance, land acquisition, new affordable housing development, rental housing, repair, and rehab of existing and rental units, and down payment grants. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Motil. Just wonder if Director Stevens had any response to what we heard from Mr. Motil.
Thank you, President Hardin, members of council. Mr. Motil made some excellent points. I would like, though, to add that the money going to the Affordable Housing Trust that you will be, the ordinance you'll be working on addressing tonight is not the only dollars we put towards affordable housing. In 2020 alone, using our CDBG home and capital dollars, we funded over $15 million that helped with home ownership, rental, land trust, and other projects that resulted in over 300 new units being put online. I think the idea coming out of Austin, Texas is a great idea. I think we're starting to go that direction with the voter approved $50 million bond authority back in 2019. And as we start to deploy those dollars over these next couple of years, I think we want to look at what do we want to do beyond the $50 million. So it's one that we want to take into consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director. Are there any other any questions or comments either for Director or on the rest of the consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion of approval of these items designated as consent?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. Brown, Dorrance, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Consent portion of the agenda is passed. Thank you. We will now proceed with the second reading of 30-day table and emergency legislation. The first committee to come before council is the Finance Committee, and that committee is chaired by President Pro Tem. President Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight I have Ordinance 810-2021 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to execute a license agreement by and between the City and the Franklin County Board of Elections for temporary use of classroom and storage space located at 750 Piedmont Avenue and to declare an emergency. Over the past year, we have seen unprecedented questioning of the integrity of our elections in this country. It's deeply troubling, to say the least, to see the foundation of our democracy undermined in this way. I'm so grateful to our local officials, our local workers and volunteers who ensure that our elections are safe, fair, and secure every year. I'm happy to support this ordinance, which provides space for the Franklin County Board of Elections to train poll workers. As you know, poll workers are on the front lines of ensuring the integrity of our elections for the 880,000 registered voters in Franklin County. The space is also used for the secure storage of equipment. The Board of Elections has used this space since 2019, and the ordinance extends the partnership through November 30th of this year. There's no fiscal impact for this agreement, which will receive the city will receive compensation for utilities and janitorial services provided during the term of the agreement. Emergency action is being considered so that poll worker training can begin immediately in preparation for the 2021 primary election. And tonight we are joined by Antone White, who was appointed director of the Franklin County Board of Elections in January. Mr. White previously served as the executive assistant for the Board of Elections and as the director of legal operations for the Franklin County Clerk of Courts. Welcome to City Council, Mr. White. I want to thank you for your work, for the work of everyone at the board, and especially the work of volunteers who make our elections run. Can you please speak briefly about the plans for the use of the city facility as well as your work ensuring the safety of poll workers and voters during the ongoing, but hopefully coming to an end soon, COVID-19 pandemic? Mr. White.
Thank you. Thank you, President Pro Tem Brown. I appreciate the kind words and the opportunity to speak here this evening in front of council. Thank you, President Harden, and all the members of council for your continued partnership and allowing us to use this facility. As President Pro Tem stated, we have used this facility since 2019. And our staff here at the Board of Elections and our trainers, they really like the facility because of the close proximity to our office here on Morse Road, as well as the parking and really the design of the location. It's a pretty wide open space. It allows us to conduct both classroom and hands-on training. And that was beneficial to us in 2020 as we experienced the pandemic. We were able to reduce the sizes of our classes, and we were able to really just spread everybody out and to remain safe throughout the entire pandemic last year as we trained poll workers. And we were able to train over 5,200 poll workers at that facility. So we're very proud of that. We're very proud that we had the opportunity to do that. We also have used that space for storage. Particularly last year when we started to ramp up our PPE and our purchases of PPE, we stored, in addition to equipment, we stored PPE out at Piedmont. In 2020, we deployed over 410,000 pieces of PPE, both at early vote and on election day. And so, again, we're proud of that. We take COVID safety very seriously here at the Board of Elections. And we want to ensure that our poll workers as well as our voters are safe when they come to vote. Some of the things we did in 2020, which we will continue throughout 2021, we will ask all of our poll workers as well as our voters to wear a mask. And if they don't have a mask, we will provide them with a mask. For the first time in 2020, we utilized what we call 2 outside election workers. And these election workers were there to help us maintain some order, remind voters of safety protocols, and to really just answer general questions. We will also have all PPE available for both our poll workers and our voters, masks, gloves, face shields, hand sanitizer. That will all be available to our poll workers and our voters. We will continue to utilize sanitation teams to clean the voting facilities, to wipe down surfaces, and really to, more importantly, to sanitize our voting equipment after a voter uses a machine. We'll have a team that properly sanitizes that voting equipment. And finally, we'll continue to offer a clean stylus to every voter that walks into one of our locations so that they can use the machines touchless without having to touch the machine if they choose to do so, and that will be available as well. So again, I want to thank the city for this opportunity to continue to use Piedmont. We do have a May 4th special election, not necessarily a primary because we don't have any candidates on the ballot, but we do have some jurisdictions in Franklin County that have ballot issues. For the city of Columbus, voters, they do not have anything to vote for on the May 4th ballot, but they will in November, but not on May 4th. So just for city of Columbus voters, wanted to remind those voters of that. But early vote does start tomorrow. We will open up our early vote center here on Morse Road, 1700 Morse Road, and absentee by mail will start tomorrow as well. And we look forward to those that have a ballot issue to come down to the early vote center and vote. And just once again, thank you to council. Thank you, President Pro Tem Brown, Council President Harden, and everyone for your support. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. White. And thanks for the preview of the May 4th election. We appreciate that. Are there questions or comments from any of my colleagues? All right, hearing none, I move for passage on this ordinance.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
All right, thank you. So, Council President, that's actually all I had in finance. May I move to Rec and Parks? Ordinance 890-2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Recreation and Parks to enter into a grant agreement with My Project USA in support of the Wedgwood Youth Soccer Program, to authorize an appropriation within the Reimagined Safety Fund, to authorize a transfer between funds, to authorize an appropriation and expenditure within the Recreation and Parks Operation and Extension Fund, and to declare an emergency. My Project USA works to empower and protect Columbus youth by providing access to educational, healthy, and fun programs that help keep them safe by connecting them with positive influences. The Wedgwood Village apartment community is home to approximately 2,000 children who benefit from access to these resources. In response to the demand from families and kids in the Wedgwood community, back in 2017, My Project USA started a soccer team. Columbus City Council began supporting the program that following year in 2018, which led to the development of a year-round program that engages hundreds of children on a weekly basis. Last year, during the COVID-19 pandemic, My Project USA was able to engage 250 young people in the greater Hilltop area. With a return to normal and the funding being allocated through this ordinance, our hope is to engage 350 to 500 young people in 2021. This program is an example of our youth violence intervention efforts to enrich the lives of youth by providing safe places to participate in engaging activities, and ultimately to increase the morale and safety and just plain fun in their neighborhood. I also want to add one of the key pieces of this program is the near-peer mentorship of the young people who are coaches and leaders within the program. I've seen them in action, and I also have seen the results of their hard work in action, as there are many championships for the teams who have come together under the My Project USA program. But tonight we are joined by Zerka Abid, founder and executive director of My Project USA, as well as Aiden Mohammed, who runs the soccer program, one of those near-peer mentors that I've seen the kids just adoringly look up to talk about the impact it has had in the neighborhood. So first, Zerka, the floor is yours. Zerka, are you there? Angie?
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Oh, yep, now we can.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you so much, President Pro Tem Brown, for this opportunity. Good evening, President Harden and all respected council members, city staff, attendees of this meeting. My name is Zerka Abid, and I'm the founder and executive director of My Project USA. And I'm truly humbled and honored to have this opportunity to speak to this prestigious council. Thank you for this much needed funding in the middle of this pandemic, in which we lost 2 kids to gang violence last year and decided to resume the program regardless of the threat of virus. The unfortunate homicides proved to us again that we cannot take an off day from the program. Any day could be a bad day for any kid. Therefore, on behalf of all my young people, parents, coaches, volunteers, staff, and the board of directors of My Project USA, I thank you. As we all know, this program is kind of my brother's keepers program in the Hilltop area. For the last 4 years, this program has been a safe haven for hundreds of kids and their parents. This program has changed the Wedgwood Village apartment from the deadliest location of Columbus in 2017 to a sports-oriented, safer neighborhood for the kids and families. I'm proud to say today that My Project USA, in the partnership of the City of Columbus and other partners, have saved lives, futures, and hundreds of thousands of cities' law enforcement dollars with the help of the soccer club and other programs. I would like to say thank you to President Pro Tem Brown and each one of you for helping me with that, not only saving our children from becoming a victim of gang violence or a prey of a drug dealer, but also turning them into gems for our community, for turning them into good students that are now on the track of going to college and living their best lives God living. Thank you for helping me in hiring the young, talented, but raw people from our target communities and turning them into leaders. We have also built the capacity of Somali Bantu community through this and other programs. To prove that point, I would like to present to you a young, promising man, Aidan Muhammad, as the director of our Hilltop Soccer Club. He is also a current Hilltop area commissioner now. He is a product of this program. Thank you for giving me Aidan. And the new grant will help us in fostering more champions, leaders, and productive citizens of Columbus. So thank you again, Aidan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, President Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown. Thank you, all other council members. My name is Aidan Mohammed. I am the soccer director for My Project USA, and I am truly grateful and honored to be here speaking for our youth and our community. I joined this program about a year ago and took the director role. Prior to that, I have been volunteering and helping with this program since the start of it. I remember when the program first started under my brother, Siya Muhammad, who was only 16 at the time. The team did not have much at all. But after the funding from City Council, the entire program changed drastically. The boys got brand new kits, and the Hilltop Tigers became a source of pride that all the youth in the Hilltop area in Wedgwood wanted to be a part of. We started getting more boys. We started wanting to get involved. We started having more parents pushing their kids to get involved. In the beginning, we started with about 25 kids, and now we're about at 100 kids who are in the Hilltop Tigers program from ages 5 to 17 years old. And this is amazing because these boys are talented and they are so good at soccer and they deserve these opportunities. Seeing them compete in a sport that they love so much is amazing. They became champions over and over again through these past years. And it's coming from where they are right now, where they're growing up, this opportunity is something that us young coaches wish we had when we were kids, which makes me think if there was a chance like this when we were kids, maybe some of our peers that we lost, unfortunately, to street violence and gang violence would still be alive today if programs like this existed back when we were kids. The type of programs that are being offered for our youth are just incredible. The program not only keeps the kids out of the way and safe, but it's also changing lives. We have other programs that we pushed into, like Reading Warriors, mentoring, college readiness, and all other programs that will help them along the way. I really appreciate all the support City Council has been giving the program since day one. This is truly amazing, and it's changing the lives of the kids and is giving them so much hope to look forward to something better than the current environment that they are in right now, which is amazing. This program is literally saving lives and creating dreams. So I just want to say thank you all for funding and supporting our initiatives.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Zerka, and thank you, Aidan. Thank you, Coach, I should say, for the work you're doing in the Wedgwood community and for joining us here tonight to talk about the importance. And also, I want to last thing I want to say that the work of the leadership at My Project USA, Zerka, you and Aidan and the young people around you, you've turned these young people into advocates too. So Zerka has brought groups of young people back when we could gather at City Hall, down to City Hall to advocate for the program and directly talk to us about what they need in their community. And it's really incredible. It's one thing to ask leaders of a program, how's it going? It's another thing to hear directly from the young people running it and benefiting from it. So are there any questions or comments for my colleagues? All right. Well, thank you both again for being here, and I move for passage on this ordinance.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That's all I have in my committees, Council President.
Thank you.
again.
Thank you, Ms. Zarka. Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Safety Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Brown. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. This evening, I have ordinance 0723-2021 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety on behalf of the Division of Support Services to enter into a contract with Integrated Corporation for maintenance services for the computer-aided dispatch system in accordance with sole source procurement provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $497,573.22 from the general fund and to declare an emergency. Also present is Deputy Director Speaks, who will give a brief explanation of the importance of maintenance for this contract. Director Speaks, the floor is yours, sir.
Member Brown, President Hardin, and members of council. This is our annual maintenance contract for our computer-aided dispatching system. This system is used by our 911 operators. The system prioritizes calls, it records the calls, and it sends the appropriate police or fire resources to folks who call in for emergencies. The reason this is sole sourced is that this is the only vendor who can provide maintenance and support for this proprietary system. I thank you for your consideration of this CAD system maintenance agreement.
If there are no questions, I move for passage from my colleagues.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Also tonight, I have ordinance 0761-2021 to authorize the city auditor to appropriate $350,000 within the Reimagining Safety Fund and to transfer such funds to Public Safety General Fund, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to modify a contract with the Research Foundation of the City University of New York on behalf of criminologist David Kennedy and the National Network for Safe Communities at the John Jay College to assist the city in serious violence prevention, to authorize the expenditure of $195,000 from the general fund and to declare an emergency. Again, Director Speaks, the floor is yours, sir.
Ordinance. Mr. Kennedy is among the nation's most respected consultants in the field of modern policing and has been so for the last 20 years since the Boston Miracle, which is sometimes called GVI, concentrates on those groups that are the highest risk for both committing and or being the victim of serious violent crime. The goal of this is to keep folks in these groups alive, safe, and out of prison. In short, to stop the violence. GVI has a consistent record over the last 20 years of enhancing public safety and reducing serious violence. And we can't wait to implement this initiative in the city of Columbus. And I thank council so much for providing these very needed resources.
Are there any questions from my colleagues? If not, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Also this evening, I have ordinance 0869-2021 to authorize the city auditor to appropriate $112,891 within the Reimagining Safety Fund and to transfer such funds and appropriation to the division's Police General Fund, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into a contract with RQI, Resuscitation Quality Improvement, for CPR and first aid training, to authorize the expenditure of $53,000 from the general fund, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Code, and to declare an emergency. On February 1st, 2021, this council passed Andre's Law, creating City Code 1915.01, which requires the Division of Police to begin training personnel in CPR and first aid training within 6 months of its law's passage. Director Speaks, would you speak to this legislation as well, sir?
This will provide the resources for annual funding every year so that police are trained and then maintain their training with respect to first aid and CPR, especially training as it deals with significant trauma. In addition to that training, there is also supplies and equipment. For example, every cruiser will be able to be equipped with a trauma kit. That will include tourniquets, large bandages, CPR supplies, and blood clotting supplies, which will help to stop bleeding in traumatic cases. Again, this will greatly enhance public safety for all in the city, and I thank council for these significant resources.
Any questions from my colleagues? If there
Not a
are none-
question. Not
Yes,
a question,
Council President.
Mr. Chair. I just want to thank you for your leadership. This companion piece to Andre's Law is necessary. And as Director Speak said, I do believe it will keep folks safe, having the necessary equipment to support and the training for our officers to support their top responsibility, which is the well-being and the safety of our residents. I'm grateful for this companion piece and look forward to supporting.
Thank you, Council President. Are there any comments from my colleagues? If I may, Council President, this is unprecedented in a variety of different ways, preparing our law enforcement officers with the ability, not only the training, but also the equipment to interact in a traumatic and or cardiac scenario before our well-known and well-accredited fire division response. Again, to my council colleagues, I say thank you for being engaged in this particular piece of legislation.
I also, Councilman Brown, this is life-saving equipment. This training, just listening today to some of the hearing that's on the George Floyd hearing, the importance of knowing CPR, providing services until a paramedic can be on site is critically important. So this legislation, this training legislation will help save lives. So thank you for this work.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Again, it's important for everyone to learn CPR. It's important for everyone to know how to address the issue of someone who has an immediate traumatic circumstance. But it's especially important that our public safety and first responders have the skill, have the knowledge, and have the equipment to interact until a more professional group, i.e. our fire division, is able to respond. So again, my thank you to all of my council colleagues for being involved in this legislation.
Councilmember, can I just make the point also that this piece of legislation reminds me, after you made that point around the historic significance of equipping all of our officers in our cars with this equipment, of some of the other historic work that you've done back in the early part of your career when you created ambulatory programs in Pittsburgh. It just reminded me when you started talking about the historic nature of equipping our first responders with what they need and how to do life-saving work quickly. So just shout out to, this is in line with your amazing leadership for many years.
Thank you, Council President. If I may also, our police officers also carry Narcan, and for interaction, heaven forbid, involving drug overdoses, and they've interceded and have applied it in multiple cases and done a superb job, as they will continue to do with this additional training and education, sir. So thank you. I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hart.
Passed.
Also this evening, I have 0888-2021 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to enter into a grant agreement with Elements of Change in support of communities violence intervention, to authorize an appropriation within the Reimagining Safety Subfund, to authorize a transfer and appropriation of funds, to authorize an expenditure of $500,000 within the general fund, and to declare an emergency. Sadly, to date, we have experienced 51 lives lost to murder in our community. With the majority of those killed have been individuals who are either of African American descent as the victims and as the suspects. We realize there are no one specific contributing factor to the increase in crime and deaths in our community. It is a multifaceted problem being experienced by communities across this country. Because the problem is multifaceted, it is our belief that we must take a multifaceted approach to resolving these issues. Elements of Change is a funding agent for End the Violence, ETV. ETV is a crisis management and intervention program that leverages the widely recognized credible messengers approach to stemming violence before it escalates. This is just one of several tools in our tool belt being employed to turn the tide of violence and crime in our communities. It's going to take all of our community partners working together to overcome this crisis. And President Hardin, would you have any comments on this, sir? I know you've been actively engaged and aware of what ETV is all about. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you for a moment, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm very grateful and looking forward to the work that End the Violence will do in partnership with many other agencies that have boots on the ground. But this is part of our reimagining safety efforts, where we use our community partners, we use our community assets to respond and to work with our young people and then connect them to the resources they need to be productive and steer away from crime. I'm looking forward to supporting this legislation, supporting the work of Sean Stevenson and all those who are stacking hands, partnering with one another, partnering with the city to keep our young people safe, to point them in the right direction, and give them the tools that they need to be successful. This is part of our responsibility of keeping folks safe, and it's a part of it is going outside of the box, outside of our traditional ways of using or dealing with youth violence. But look forward to supporting this piece of legislation, and thank you for your leadership on this in particular.
Thank you, Council President. And I would also like to point out that End the Violence, again, under the leadership of Mr. Sean Stevenson, was also in conjunction with David Kennedy's program, the program that you heard Director speak about a little while ago. Given the problems that we're experiencing with regards to violence in our community, we have to explore every possible opportunity, every possible avenue to try and address the issue of impacting our young people today with regards to crime. And just the mere fact that we're April the 3rd or April 5th, and we've got 51 homicides in the city of Columbus, that number is totally and completely unacceptable. And we have to figure out multiple ways to address those problems. So again, sir, thank you. And I move for passage unless there's any additional comments from my colleagues.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
Passed.
Also this evening, we have ordinance 0891-2021 to authorize the appropriation of $225,000 in the Reimagining Safety Subfund to the Department of Public Safety on behalf of the Columbus Division of Police for the Teens and Police Service Partners TAPS Academy Mentorship Program, to authorize a transfer and appropriation of funds, to authorize the expenditure of $225,000 within the general fund, and to declare an emergency. I believe Director Stewart is available. Is that correct?
That's correct, Council Member. President Hardin, Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown, other members of council, and Council Member Brown. I could talk a long time on this program. It's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart, but I don't do that. I will say only that the goal of the TAPS Academy, the TAPS program, is to reduce the social distance between the Division of Police and the youth in our city. It started in Houston, Texas, 11 years ago. Due to my relationship with the then Chief of Police, he told me about it. It sounded like something that could work here. And it took about a little over a year and a half to get it brought to Columbus and find funding and the whole 9 yards. To be perfectly honest with you folks, all you need to do to these kids. All you need to do is listen to them. The officers that participate in this program are trained mentors. They're all volunteers. They have a desire to see the youth in our community go at risk to at promise. They know that these kids are more capable of doing much more than they've shown us. In the almost 7 years of this program has been in existence, there have been over 500 kids who've successfully completed this program. It occurs in the Columbus City schools, and even this year, even under COVID, we found a way to do this program virtually. It is an amazing program. Councilmember Brown and other council members, I believe, are familiar with the program. But just to give an indication of how successful the program was, very early on, administrative judge of juvenile court, Judge Kim Brown, provided funding for this program and has done so for the last 4 or 5 years. Due to COVID and cost restrictions and budget cuts, they can no longer do that. So I've asked, we're looking for funding from other places, and Councilmember Brown has stepped forward. I'm telling you, it's just a way of making things better. It's a structured but flexible lesson plan that these kids sit and talk about. But the key is to sit down and talk to these youth. The key is to sit down and listen to them. You know, you can't fool these kids anymore. This is a different time now. And it's amazing to see the transition and the transformation from day one when they walk into a room and see maybe 10 or 12 uniformed Columbus police officers and really not wanting to be there, until 10 to 11 weeks later when they leave. And it's an emotional experience because they have learned that the officers actually do care. So I appreciate your taking the time to step forward to this, Councilmember Brown and City Council. I promise you it is a successful program, and I look forward to it continuing to be a successful program in the near future.
Thank you, Director Stewart. It's interesting. As you know, I know the former chief of police in Houston, Texas. He's a friend of mine, and we talked about this program. And it's one of those things where it is absolutely fascinating to see the kids come to the very first day, and then to see them on graduation day hugging police officers and recognizing that they've established a relationship with them. It has made a difference in a lot of people's lives, and I want to thank my council colleagues for being engaged in supporting this form of reimagining public safety, where we take young people and put them with a police officer, and there's mentorship, there's stewardship, there is friendship, and those things make all the difference in the world to a young at-risk teen. So with that,
again, you're right. I could tell you from for a while how the teachers and the principals are in love with this program. They're the ones that provide the names for these kids to us, and we actually sit down and talk to them. Chief McClellan out of Houston, when he first told me about it, I told him, well, good luck with that, Chuck. I don't think that's going to work very well for you, because his idea was he's got to find a way to stop their kids from, if they graduate, walking across the school stage, taking that diploma, walking down the stairs and walking back into the barrios and ghettos of Houston and ended up in jail. And they developed this program, and it is outstanding. I could go on for a while. You know how I feel about it,
I know you have a passion for it, Robert. If there are no additional questions from my colleagues,
Councilor Brown, I will second it in a second. I will second it in a minute. But I just want to say to Mr. Stewart, first of all, thank you. That one person can make a difference, and certainly by seeing this program in Texas and coming back to our city and saying let's try it here, and you did, and that it has been successful for our young people. It absolutely is looking at reimagining public safety, and I'm just grateful that that you obviously can see how passionate you are and we're kind of emotional about this program. But again, one person can make a difference. And I'm very thankful that we have this program in the city of Columbus. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, council member.
If there are no other questions or concerns from my council members, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President.
Passed.
Council President, that's all I have this evening, but I would like to take a moment to thank all my council colleagues for their engagement in these anti-violence community initiatives. It is really important that folks get an opportunity to see that the things they not only talk about, we provide action and implement those things. And again, my council colleagues, again, from me to you, thank you.
Thank you for your leadership, Chairman Brown.
That's all I have this evening, sir.
Thank you, sir. With that, may I have a motion to recess for zoning?
So moved. Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
We are in recess. Councilmember Tyson, you want to break first, or you want to?
No, I think we can move right to it.
Let's roll.
That's right. Maybe we can break afterwards. Okay, let's go.
All right. Regular meeting number 16 will now come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
We will now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Tyson chairs that committee. All members serve on the committee. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Before beginning the zoning agenda, I'll briefly explain the rules of council as pertaining to speaking before council on zonings and variances. We permit 3 speakers on each side, 3 proponents, 3 opponents, and we ask that they limit their remarks to 3 minutes on each side. And we provide an opportunity for rebuttal from the applicant. On the advice of the city attorney's office, anyone who wishes to speak for or against any council variance, including staff, must be sworn in prior to giving testimony. We do so prior to beginning the reading of each variance on the agenda. So the first ordinance is 740-2021 to rezone 88 East 9th Avenue, being 1.20 acres located at the northwest corner of East 9th Avenue and Section Alley from R4 Residential District and CPD Commercial Plan Development District to AR3 Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Parallel Company, care of Dave Perry. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The city department's recommendation is approval. The University Area Commission's recommendation is approval 11-6-1. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is ordinance number, it's a variance. So anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, including staff, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will.
I will.
I will.
Thank you. I have ordinance number 741-2021 to grant a variance from provisions of sections 3321.07B, landscaping 3325.901A, density 3325.903AB, landscaped area and treatment 3325.905A, maximum lot coverage 3325.907, parking and 3325.909 AB building lines, 3325.911 C, building separation size, 3325.9131B, maximum floor area ratio, and 3325.915 AB, height of Columbus City codes for property located at 88 East 9th to permit reduced development standards for an apartment building in the AR3 apartment residential district. The applicant again is Parallel Company, care of Dave Perry. The proposed use is a multi-unit development. The city's department's recommendation is approval, and the University Area Commission's recommendation is approval 11-6-1. And again, if there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 744-2021 to rezone 2600 Stelter Road, being 26.88 acres located in the northeast corner of Stelter Road and Cadet Road from R Rural District to the LR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Metro Development, care of Attorney Jeff Brown. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The State Department's recommendation is approval, and the Northeast Area Commission's recommendation is approval, and it was unanimous. So if there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, including staff, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will.
I will.
I will.
Thank you. Ordinance number 745-2021 is to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3312.272, parking setback line 3333.18 building lines of the Columbus City Coast for the property located at 2600 Stelter Road to permit reduced parking and building setbacks for a multi-unit residential development in the AR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Metro Development, care of Jeff Brown. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The State Department's recommendation is approval, and the Northeast Area Commission's recommendation is also approval, and it was unanimous. And if there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And the
Thank
final
you.
thank you, Jeff. And the final ordinance and zoning this evening is ordinance number 754-2021 to rezone 1835 Stelter Road, being 3.978 acres located at the west side of Stelter Road, 532 feet north of Interstate 670 from the R Rural District to the LM Limited Manufacturing District. The applicant is Precision Pipeline Services LLC, care of Tim Snyder, and the proposed use is a industrial development. The State Department's recommendation is approval, and again, the Northeast Area Commission's recommendation is also approval, and it was unanimous. And if there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That concludes the zoning agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Zoning is adjourned. Council members, do we want to take a couple minutes? No, we all want to roll. Let's keep on rolling. All right. Is there a motion to reconvene?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans,
It's
favor,
nice
Remy
out
Tyson,
today.
President Harden.
We are back in regular meeting number 15. The next committee to come before council is Public Utilities Committee. Councilmember Dorans chairs that committee. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. And Public Utilities tonight, I have ordinance number 0363-2021 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreements for the purchase of bill presentment services with Level 1 LLC for the Division of Power, the Division of Water, and the Division of Sewer and Drainage, and to authorize expenditure of $79,300 from the Power Operating Fund, and $504,400 from the Water Operating Fund, and $565,500 from the Sewer Operating Fund, and $150,800 from the Stormwater Operating Fund. Since 2004, Level 1 has been a trusted provider of billing and payment solutions, guiding utilities and government entities across North America towards successful customer engagement. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have 0425-2021 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to renew and increase the contract with New River Electrical Corporation for the power distribution, installation, and restoration services for the Division of Power, and to authorize the expenditure of $1,500,000 in the Electricity Operating Fund. The original power distribution, installation, restoration services contract with New River Electrical Corp was intended to be used for overall system improvements, specifically in the downtown area, for the purpose of setting poles, installing conductors, and removal of old poles and conductors. This renewal contract is necessary to continue the improvements needed throughout the city for the Division of Power. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Finally, in public utilities, we have ordinance number 0707-2021 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to establish a purchase order to make payments to Delaware County for sewer services provided for fiscal year 2021, and to authorize the expenditure of $2,200,000 from the Sewer Operating Sanitary Fund. This agreement, entered into by the City of Columbus and Delaware County in 1991, authorizes the discharge of sewage from Delaware County into the sewer system of the City of Columbus, from the City of Columbus system into the Delaware County sewer system in order to avoid duplication at the wastewater treatment plants. If no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
And Council President, with your permission, may I move on to the Neighborhoods Committee? Thumbs up, it is. Ordinance number 0799-2021 in the Neighborhoods Committee to authorize the Director of the Department of Neighborhoods to enter into a contract with Collier Public Benefit LLC in an amount of up to $80,000, perform outreach and engagement work, develop strategies to increase trust and reduce vaccine hesitancy, register residents for the vaccine, and improve vaccination rates among vulnerable populations. To waive the provisions of the competitive bidding of the Columbus City Code, and to authorize expenditure of up to $80,000 for these services starting April 1st, 2021 within the CARES Act fund, and to declare an emergency. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed historical inequities within our communities that have led to disproportionate rates of infection and death in communities in color here in Columbus and certainly across the country. To mitigate this and prevent widening racial health disparities moving forward, it's necessary for the City of Columbus to provide targeted education and outreach to vulnerable populations about the COVID-19 vaccine and the importance of being vaccinated to them and the entire community. These funds will be used to enhance the City of Columbus COVID-19 vaccination outreach and engagement efforts and communication, especially in our opportunity neighborhoods. The vendor will perform outreach and engagement work, develop strategies to increase trust and reduce vaccine hesitancy, register residents with vaccine, and improve vaccination rates among the most vulnerable in our city. Emergency action is requested to ensure the outreach of communities of color can begin immediately and vaccination rates improve as more vaccines become available. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, sir. That is all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next committee to come before council is the Public Service Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight in Public Service and Transportation, we have ordinance 733-2021 to appropriate funds within the Federal Transportation Grants Fund to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into contract with Strasser Paving Company for the pedestrian safety improvements Toronto Street Sidewalks Project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $368,957.16 from the Federal Transportation Grants Fund and up to $36,895.72 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund to pay for the project and to declare an emergency. This contract includes installing sidewalk, ADA curb ramps, 80 feet of retaining wall, minor storm upgrades, and replacing drive aprons on the south side of Toronto Street from Trevitt Street to North Champion Avenue. The objective of this project is to provide infrastructure that encourages and enables children in grades K through 8 to walk or ride their bikes to school. Trevitt Elementary School is a neighborhood school with a high percentage of students who walk to school, and almost the entire student body lives within 2 miles. This project was ranked in the high priority category in the Columbus School Travel Plan and was identified as part of the southeastern route for Trevitt Elementary School. This project is also located in the Near East Celebrate One area and will help serve the mobility needs of local residents. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President.
Passed.
Thank you. Up next, we have ordinance 737-2021 to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into contract with Strasser Paving Company for the Bikeway Development Norton Road Share Use Path project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $899,643.84 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund for the Bikeway Development Norton Road Shared Use Path project and to declare an emergency. This project includes constructing a half a mile of 10 feet wide shared use path along the west side of Norton Road from the Camp Chase Railroad to the intersection with Hall Road. The path will connect to existing Camp Chase Trail bike paths at the Camp Chase Railroad and bike lanes on Norton Road, north of Hall Road. It also connects to each of the neighborhood streets along Norton Road and to the entrance at Freedom Park. This is a great project that highlights the city's continued push to offer mobility options for our residents. Community bike organizations have voiced support for the project and the connections that this will create. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
Passed.
Thank you. That is all I have on my committees.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Economic Development Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President Hardin. I have 2 job growth incentive items in economic development this evening. First is Ordinance 711-2021 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a dual rate jobs growth incentive agreement with International Technical Coatings for a term of up to 5 consecutive years in consideration of the company's proposed capital investment of $14,200,000 and creation of 67 new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $3,151,830. The Columbus Department of Development is proposing to enter into a dual rate jobs growth incentive agreement with International Technical Coatings in an amount equal to 25% of the City of Columbus income tax withheld on the Columbus payroll of new employees and 30% of the City of Columbus income tax withheld on the Columbus payroll of new employees who are also City of Columbus residents at the end of each calendar year for a term of up to 5 consecutive years. ITC proposes to invest total project costs of approximately $14,200,000, including $13,500,000 in machinery and equipment and $700,000 improvements to existing buildings to add a production line at their current manufacturing facility at 845 East Market Avenue in Columbus. That will increase production by 50%. The company will create 67 net new full-time permanent positions with an annual payroll of $3,151,830 and retain 165 full-time permanent positions with an annual payroll of $8,340,000 at the project site. Joining us this evening to share a few additional words on this legislation and talk a little bit more about the company is Mark Bryden, the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Financial Officer of ITC Manufacturing. Mark, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity here for letting me join, number one, and number two, for giving us the opportunity to continue our growth in Columbus, Ohio. It's been a great area for us to work in. We enjoy the city. We enjoy working with the people there of Columbus, Ohio. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, running the other facility we have, but very often I am in Columbus, Ohio, and let me tell you, it's just a great area.
We are investing significant dollars into the operation there in that facility, and we have done so over the past 10 years that we've been in location. So we do plan on investing about $13 million in new equipment. Some of that is already on the will be installed over the next 2 to 3 months, and then we'll continue that growth over the next 2 years. We do anticipate at least 67 new employees. I'm guessing that's going to continue to increase as we plan for additional equipment and in that area. So again, we appreciate the opportunity and look forward to our continued success in that facility and in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bryden. Director Stevens, do you have any additional comments this evening?
Thank you, President Hardin, Chair Remy, members of council. I just want to thank ITC for their continued investment and job creation here within the city of Columbus. It's always great to be able to offer these type of incentives that are performance-based and to see the companies meet and exceed that performance. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Director. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Next, I have ordinance 750, 2021 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a dual rate jobs growth incentive agreement with Goosehead Insurance Agency, LLC, for a term of up to 6 consecutive years in consideration of the company's proposed capital investment of $1,335,000 and creation of 60 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $4,600,000. The Columbus Department of Development is proposing to enter into a dual rate jobs growth incentive agreement with Goosehead Insurance, LLC, in an amount equal to 25% of the City of Columbus income tax withheld on the Columbus payroll of new employees and 30% of the City of Columbus income tax withheld on the Columbus payroll of new employees who are also residents of the City of Columbus at the end of each calendar year for a term of up to 6 consecutive years. Founded in 2003, Goosehead Insurance Agency is a rapidly growing independent insurance agency, reinventing the traditional approach to distributing personal line policies throughout the United States. Their differentiated business model and innovative technology platform had enabled them to deliver insurance customers a superior experience. The company is experiencing rapid business growth for its personal lines of insurance across the U.S., and the project involves the creation of a national sales center that will secure and serve customer needs using an advanced proprietary technology platform. Project will be dedicated to commercial loan production and new markets for the company. Goosehead is proposing to invest approximately $180,000 in machinery and equipment, $825,000 in leasehold improvements, and $330,000 in furniture and fixtures to expand operations at 4131 Worth Avenue. Additionally, Goosehead will create 60 new net full-time positions with a cumulative estimated annual payroll of approximately $4,600,000 to support its growth. Goosehead is requesting a dual rate jobs growth incentive for the City of Columbus to assist with the expansion of this project. This evening, representing Goosehead Insurance Agency, we have John Lenio, the Executive Vice President and Economist with CBRE. Welcome to Council, John. The floor is yours.
Council member, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. That was an excellent overview. Almost hit every bullet point of my notes. What I can offer is Goosehead hired CBRE's advisory team to do a national site selection project to figure out what communities within the U.S. actually have the best economic development fundamentals for the 60 new jobs and potentially growing to 100. And ultimately, after a national site selection, the Columbus Metro and the Kansas City Metro were shortlisted for the project. As we worked with city staff, as well as One Columbus and the Jobs Ohio team, you all had proven to Goosehead that growing and choosing the city of Columbus would present the best long-term economic opportunity for the client. They're very excited to potentially grow quickly within the community and hopefully well exceed the 60 jobs over 3 years and potentially 100 over 5. The client is looking to mostly hire from Columbus area residents. They may have about a handful of employees that could be relocated from other offices throughout the U.S., but a majority of the new hires will be from the local population. So on behalf of Goosehead Insurance, they are very appreciative of the city and the city council's consideration for the incentive this afternoon or this evening, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, John. That was a great addition to my comments. So Director Stevens, I'll turn it over to you for any additional.
Thank you, President Hardin, Chair Ramey, members of council. I appreciate John highlighting our economic competitiveness across the country. It's these type of jobs that are important. We spend a lot of time in Department of Development addressing and working on our affordable housing issue. But one of the biggest problems we have is we have a large number of our residents who are paying more than 30% of their income for housing. By attracting these type of jobs in, we're giving them more opportunities for higher paying jobs. So, you know, we're addressing not only trying to fix the number of units that are out there that are affordable, but we're also trying to raise the income level so that percentage can go down that way as well. So it's an important part of our economic development and our housing efforts. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Director. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you very much. That's all I have in economic development this evening. With your permission, I'll move on to administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Tonight I have one ordinance in the Administration Committee. It's Ordinance 873 to authorize the appropriation of 873-2021 to authorize the appropriation of $15,000 within the Job Growth Subfund for the Small Business Training Services Program, to authorize and direct the Director of Department of Human Resources to implement the Small Business Training Services Program and to declare an emergency. The Small Business Training Program allows local small business free access to numerous classes offered by the City of Columbus Citywide Training and Development Office. Classes are designed to improve the professional skills of workers. Professional development sessions include courses focusing on both hard and soft skills. For example, computer courses in Microsoft Excel, Word, and PowerPoint are offered, as well as coursework designed to improve skills and improved communication, critical thinking, leadership, and team building. All classes are held at the Citywide Training and Development Office located at the Gary Hammond Center at 1111 East Broad. Staff is open to traveling to work sites of business as well. The Small Business Training Services Program has allowed the Citywide Training and Development Office to serve dozens of small businesses each year within the Central Ohio community. This evening, we welcome our Citywide Training Manager, Drema Kirkling, to share a few words about this item. Drema, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Councilmember Remy, Council President Hardin, Council Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown, and other members of Council. On behalf of Citywide Training and Development, I want to personally say thank you for continuing your support of this wonderful program. We do offer lots of courses specifically designed for small businesses. As Councilmember Remy mentioned, we have Microsoft Office courses, supervision management courses. Some of the courses that we have coming up very quickly are building your brand on social media, online tools for small businesses, honing and delivering your message. We also plan to offer critical thinking and innovation, building your executive presence, mindfulness, women in leadership, owning your strengths, as well as a multitude of other classes that are designed and offered free of charge thanks to this funding from City Council. I also want to mention that currently, due to COVID, our classes are virtual. We use the platform WebEx or Zoom, and we're also able to work with small businesses to use whatever platform that they may have. For more information on this great training program, please, by all means, go to www.columbus.gov/citywide training, or you can call us directly at 614-645-8294. You can shoot us an email at ctd, at columbus.gov, and we do have a social media presence. We welcome you to follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Dreamo. We appreciate the ongoing efforts in supporting our small businesses here in the city of Columbus. Really proud and happy to support this program this evening. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues this evening? Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy, and it's really good to see this program still be in existence. This program really came out of an initiative that we had, that we were focused, the council was focused on how do we support small businesses to be able to continue to move forward. And one of the initiatives that I chaired when I was a part of that committee of a couple of other council members was to focus on training and development. And I had the opportunity to fund the first program to be able to create this program for the nonprofit. So I'm glad to see it's still around, and it certainly is a great asset to our small businesses who can't sometimes afford to be able to have their staff members go to training, and that this will continue to expand their education to be able to help the businesses in our community continue to grow and prosper. So glad to see it's still here, and thank you for the legislation tonight.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Tyson. Are any of my other colleagues wanting to say anything? All right, seeing no further comments, I move for passage.
I'll say second.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
And that's all I have in administration. Back to you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next committee to come before council is the Health and Human Resources Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Tyson. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. And before I begin to read some of the legislation that's on tonight, I want to just share that this evening we are certainly going to be supporting human services in a pretty substantial way. We will have approximately about $10 million that will be supporting human services through general fund dollars, as well as providing capital dollars to support organizations. So that's very nice for our organizations. And before I will start with the first ordinance, it's ordinance number 388-2021. It is to authorize the Director of Development to modify the nonprofit service agreements with numerous social service agencies to address and provide for multiple human service needs, to authorize the expenditure of $1,216,241 from the Emergency Human Services Fund, and to authorize the expenditure of up to $3,248,666 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. These organizations that we'll be funding again would be based upon, in 2018, there was a request for proposals was issued via direct mail to agencies and city partners. There was a press release that went out posting on the city's website that we will be accepting proposals from our human service agencies. The city received 142 proposals representing 101 agencies with over $19 million in requests. Of those, 44 programs were selected for funding in 2019, and agreements were authorized under Ordinance 1170, 2019. These agreements were renewed in 2020 and under the authority of Ordinance 571 of 2020. Historically, the department has done an RFP every 2 years, and under normal circumstances, such an effort would have been in late 2020 for 2021. Due to COVID-19 and its impact on the nonprofit sector and department priorities, the department has elected to extend these agreements for fiscal year 2021 through an agreement modification. At this point, it is the department's intent to do an RFP process in the latter part of 2021 so that we will begin to have new agreements for 2022. These agreements will be modified pending availability of funds and program performance per the agreement of each agency. And I would say that I have working with Department of Development, we sent a document to all the 44 programs that received funding for the past 2 years, and they had to share with us, again, what was the initial purpose of the dollars? Did they meet the goals of that? How did they have to pivot based upon COVID, and how will they use dollars in 2021? And all of these programs have submitted information, and the contracts will, have submitted their information, so that contracts will be able to be sent out to these agencies for those dollars. So all 44 programs have performed in accordance with the agreements and are approved for third-year funding. These programs and initiatives will provide services to residents of Columbus within one or more of the 5 strategic areas. It was either income through employment, job quality, education and training, financial capability, and stabilization and resource support. And again, there are a variety of nonprofit organizations that receive this funding, and I won't name them all, but I'll mention a few: the Academy for Urban Scholars, Action for Children, the Breathing Association, Center for Healthy Families, Central Community House, the Clintonville Beach Wall Community Resources, Choices, Community Housing Network, the Columbus Urban League, Goodwill, Halt to Violence, Hands on Central Ohio, Impact, Community Action, Local Matters, Our Helpers, Salvation Army, St. Stephen's Community House, Star House, United Way, Volunteers of America, and the YWCA, just to name a few. And so I do have 3 speakers on this legislation, and the first person that will share their comments based in support of this funding will be Michael Corey from the Human Service Chamber of Franklin County. Then will be Michelle Moskowitz Brown from Local Matters, and then Bo Chilton from Impact.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. It's great to see you again through the computer. To all members of City Council, I spoke with you about a year ago for a special meeting that you had convened to discuss response to COVID and the just enormous consequences it was having on our community, but especially the health and human services sector. I have many more gray hairs down here and less hair up here since then. I think we all do to a certain extent. And you'll hear from 2 of my bosses after me, in Michelle and Bo, who will do an excellent job of talking about the specific work they've been doing and why the support the city's provided to their agencies is so valuable. And you've already supported in another way, another of my bosses in Zirka Abid and My Project USA earlier tonight. Let me start with this. The fact that the city of Columbus continued this program and was determined to keep these dollars flowing through the grants program despite the pandemic and despite so many other challenges that were posed to us last year, created a level of comfort in a time where there was very little comfort for the nonprofit sector providing direct services to our community. And the fact that this has come to fruition and the city's goal of ensuring these dollars could continue flowing in this way through this process for another year is enormously consequential. Let me try and give you a few numbers and anecdotes as to why that is the case. First of all, as the year turned into 2021, we did a internal survey of our membership, which is 110 health and human services agencies, all providing a range of direct services in our community. We had 68 respondents to that, and there are 3 figures I wanted to share. Due to COVID, since March of 2020, between March of 2020 and January of 2021, there were $73.6 million in lost revenue due to COVID alone. During that same time span, there were $25.5 million in incurred expenses directly due to COVID. And during that time span, employment at those 68 agencies dropped from 10,510 to 9,140, a drop of 1,370 employees. And yet, every single one of those agencies and all of the ones that we serve were able to keep their doors open and were able to continue providing services to the community. And that was in significant part because of the city's and the county's prioritization of support, financially and otherwise, to these agencies and the work that they do. The continuation of these funds through the grant program is further evidence of that. And as we move through this still unstable, but hopefully more stable year, certainly with different sorts of priorities in our federal government, we know that these sorts of supports, this kind of support, will need to continue. Because even as COVID wanes, hopefully over the next couple of months in our community, there will be so many other tributaries of challenges that we're all going to be facing, and that our agencies will continue trying to lead on in providing the support that this community needs. But let me just say I'm tremendously proud of the work our agencies do and of their 15,000 employees and truly of the hundreds of thousands of people that they're serving. This has been an enormously difficult year, 13 months for everyone to varying degrees. But the folks that work at our agencies, the other front line, as we say, the front line being hospitals, of course, they have seen more suffering and trauma than they're used to seeing. And that has taken a significant toll on all of them. And knowing that these financial supports would be there from the city and knowing that the partnership that exists between our local government and the nonprofit sector, that has given some peace of mind, if nothing else, in a very disruptive time. So we're grateful for these supports for the sector and for the community that we're trying to navigate through this moment. And we know that there's more to come as we work our way through the next stage of this crisis. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for your leadership. And I think it's Michelle.
Here.
Hi, Michelle. So Michelle Moskowitz Brown from Local Matters.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Tyson. Thank you also, Council President Hardin, Council President Pro Tem Brown, Council Members Brown, Dorrance, Favor, and Remy. It's great to see you all tonight and my colleagues from the human services sector. It's an honor to be one of the few speakers here tonight speaking in support of this ordinance. As Councilmember Tyson mentioned, I'm the Executive Director at Local Matters, and we're an organization that focuses on creating healthy communities through food education, access, and food. All of the programs that we have at our organization stem from a belief in food and racial justice. And what that means to us is that everybody has a right to food that is culturally relevant, convenient, nutritious, and affordable. As you all know, this is a time when we're finding ourselves needing to really operate, holding multiple truths at once. For example, as organizations, we're working on our immediate needs while we're also trying to build sustainability. As individuals, we're each finding some hope because there's now vaccinations, but we're also stabilizing than ever. And as we also know that crises are often provide the opportunity to spur innovation. And for the Local Matters team, that's definitely been the case. We've been working on the one hand to distribute thousands of pounds of food and meals across the community, but we've also been building systems within the organization that will carry us into the future. Some of the innovations over the past year have been building a point of sale system, a mobile point of sale for our veggie van, which brings fresh fruits and vegetables and staple goods across communities in Columbus. We've also had incredible success with virtual programming, delivering unprecedented results with partners like Nationwide Children's Hospital. And we've brought over $132,000 federal and state dollars to the community through the Produce Perks Midwest program, the statewide program that we operate here in Central Ohio. So those are some of the highlights there. The City Council ordinance supports $30,000 grant funding to Local Matters, which makes it possible for us to deliver our Cooking Matters program. It's a 6-week program that provides groceries and cooking classes, again, helping people stretch their dollar and put a meal on the table while managing and preventing diet-related disease. For us, food is a connection. It's a beginning. It leads to a more supportive, inclusive, and equitable community. And as an organization, we're going to continue to deliver in-depth, life-changing programs at the local level while advocating for policies at the state and federal level that increase nutrition education and food access. And as you all know, the human services sector has operated on overdrive for more than a year now. We are a resilient sector, and we're very used to stretching our dollar and putting people first. And at Local Matters, similar to other organizations, we raise our budget every year anew. And while we've made it this far, it is certainly stressful to have to do that. And just knowing that we have the government support, and also we have an ability, and we've always managed to have a diversity of funding sources. Those things keep us going, but it wouldn't be a stretch to say that if it wasn't for the city funding and also the CARES Act funding, those two sources really kept our organization intact with very minimal staffing changes for us in particular over the past year. So we know that we're stronger than we were a year ago. We know that we can't create change on our own, and we're incredibly grateful for the support and to be able to co-create healthier communities with this council and with our city. So thank you very much on behalf of our team and our board, and thank you for all the support for all the organizations in the Human Service Chamber and also in the sector.
Thank you, Michelle, for all that you do in building a more equitable community and in regards to certainly food equity. So thank you. And now we'll have Bo Chilton from Impact, President CEO.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairwoman Tyson, to President Hardin, President Pro Tem Brown, and other members of council. I want to say thank you to all of you, to council staff, and to the administration for your leadership and support. Your investment in nonprofit human service agencies is critically important to ensuring that all residents have their basic needs met. And more than that, that all residents have the opportunity to thrive. The economic collapse sparked by the COVID-19 pandemic triggered one of the most unequal recessions in modern US history, delivering a mild setback for those at or near the top and a depression-like blow for those who are at the bottom, according to Washington Post analysis of job losses across the income spectrum. Recessions often hit poorer households harder, but this one is doing so at a scale that is the worst in generations, analysis shows. As we're all aware, Central Ohio will continue to grow by 1 million more people over the next 30 years, which will create tremendous opportunities for growth and shared prosperity, while also creating deeper challenges for affordable housing and jobs that pay a living wage. Your support for our Build Up Skilled Trades program enabled 34 Columbus residents to receive their introductory to craft skills credential. An additional 12 graduates went on to receive their level 1 credential in carpentry. Graduates have earned wages between $15 to $24 an hour based on their experience and credential attainment. We use a curriculum that is accredited by the National Center for Construction Education and Research, or NCCR. This is the same curriculum used by construction companies like Corner Kokosing for their apprenticeship program, and it's the same curriculum used by many of the vocational schools, including Columbus City School District. We are now having conversations with Columbus State Community College, Ohio Health, Columbia Gas, AEP, and others to create career pipelines in response to their aging workforce and the fact that they will have a number of retirees over the next few years. Our ability to provide an earn as you learn model where participants receive dollars for hitting various milestones, coupled with the comprehensive case management to remove employment barriers, is the key to ensuring access and opportunity to those who might otherwise be overlooked, but certainly have the aptitude and attitude when given adequate support. So thank you again for your support.
Thank you, Bo. Are there any questions from any of my colleagues? Well, seeing none, I'm very excited to be able to move for passage ordinance number 388 that will provide up to $4,464,907 to the human service sector.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Ordinance is passed. Thank you for your leadership on this, Councilmember Tyson, and the whole team.
All right, thank you so much. The next ordinance is ordinance 781-2021, and it is to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a grant agreement in the amount up to $1,400,000 with directions for youth and families to provide a capital grant supporting their new Crittenton Community Center and to declare an emergency. Directions for Youth and Families is investing $707.5 million in construction of a new community center on Kimberly Parkway. This project includes 5,000 square feet of indoor and outdoor space to accommodate a city presence for the Mid-East Area Commission meetings, community police office, space for public health, as well as space for summer programming for the Department of Recreation and Parks. And this ordinance is so important because, as many of you know, that within that area of our community, we do not have a library, there is not a recreation facility. So by having directions for youth in our community, in that area to support the children within that part of our city is critically important. And then the other services that I just mentioned will certainly will also provide other adults that will be in the building. And again, it's a public health, recs and parks. This is a critically needed community center. I will also state that Directions for Youth and Families is a nonprofit organization that really does support, has significant programs for Black girls, and especially dealing with the issues around mental health and wellness. And so I'm just really pleased that the city is providing dollars to support our young people within the the southeast part of our community. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 782-2021 to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a grant agreement in the amount up to $1 million with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Ohio to provide a capital grant supporting their Investing in Great Futures comprehensive campaign and to declare an emergency. This particular grant was an effort. It will be part of their $13.5 million effort for the redevelopment of their oldest club, and that is in Milo Grogan. And this includes, they'll have $9 million in redevelopment and $4.5 million for operation and programs. And so again, the city is supporting that tonight with a $1 million funding to support the work in Milo Grogan, to support our boys and girls. And again, this legislation, the last piece of legislation, and again, even the 4.4 million, again, these are other ways of reimagining public safety. And these two, and will be another piece, certainly, and having facilities that our young people can go in and be with wonderful role models to enhance their skill set, for them to be in safe places, again, is reimagining public safety. So if there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Second. Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 783-2021, and that is to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a grant agreement in the amount of up to $200,000 with Impact Community Action to provide a capital grant to support the Impact 2020 campaign supporting real property improvements and public benefit programs, and to declare an emergency. The Impact Community Action relocated its headquarters to 711 South Wood Avenue on the city's south side. The new headquarters will enable Impact Community Action to fight poverty and inspire hope in new and innovative ways through their Impact 2020 campaign. This is a three-phase campaign that began in 2020, which includes the following milestones. It was phase one. There was a campaign successfully raised $250,000 for costs paid for and encumbered prior to their move in April. And then the Columbus Foundation was supporting that phase for $75,000. And then in, phase 2, where there's a goal of $750,000 for technology, furniture, security monitoring, fiber optic cabling, and then phase, which ended December of 2020. And phase 3 is through December 2021. And this will be an aspirational goals connected to their commercial kitchen, cafeteria, media, conference room, social enterprise ventures with skilled trades and our affordable housing pilot. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage to support impact.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
And pass.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 859-2021 to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a grant agreement in the amount of up to $3 million with the Alcohol, Drug, and Mental Health Board of Franklin County. We know it as ADAMH, to provide a capital grant supporting the Franklin County Mental Health and Addiction Crisis Center, and to authorize the expenditure up to $3 million and to declare an emergency. And before I share any comments, I'm going to first ask for Erica Clark Jones, who's the CEO of ADAMH, and I'm thinking Jonathan Thomas, Vice President of Planning and Evaluation, to say a few words about this ordinance.
Oh, thank you so much, Chair Tyson, President Harden, President Pro Tem Brown, and members of Columbus City Council. It's great to be with you here tonight. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to offer brief remarks regarding the Crisis Center legislation being brought forward today. We are so excited and appreciative of this legislation related to the capital funding commitment from the City of Columbus. Not only would I like to thank our partners in the City of Columbus for their financial support, but I'd like to acknowledge and thank the many colleagues throughout the City of Columbus, including representatives from the Department of Development and Rory McGinnis, in helping to move this legislation along with Director Stevens, and representatives from Mayor Ginther's office, Columbus Public Health, Columbus Police, and Columbus Fire, who have participated in our community-wide planning efforts. Today's legislation is specific to the forthcoming Franklin County Mental Health and Addiction Crisis Center, with a targeted groundbreaking in the next 12 months and a targeted go-live date for occupancy for much-needed additional crisis services by 2024. The Crisis Center will be the cornerstone of our community's continuum of crisis care, serving as the preferred destination for adults experiencing mental health or addiction-related crisis in Franklin County. And while, pardon me, sorry about that. And while a critical component, it will be the hub of a much broader array of services, which I know is important to this council, as it has been revealed in your leadership to reimagine police and safety through community conversations on the intersection of crisis care and law enforcement. I think that's been a theme tonight, and we're so proud to be a part of your agenda. Our planning efforts have included key stakeholders and perspectives from the city and Franklin County staff, community mental health and addiction service providers, all three of the adult serving hospital systems here in Central Ohio, advocates, individuals with lived experience in our service delivery system, and their loved ones. Our community steering committee made recommendations that are being used by ADAMH to also lead the planning and implementation of not only this crisis center, but also the Behavioral Health Crisis Call Center, which will also integrate the introduction of 988 as a behavioral health emergency line into our community. Our recommendations also include suggestions on enhanced community-based mobile response teams, which would allow for our clinicians and peers to respond to and resolve many crisis calls in the community without requiring first responders on the scene unless absolutely needed. Again, we're very excited about this next step being brought forward tonight. We are equally excited about future partnerships with the city, which will not only deliver the Crisis Center to our community, but it will thoughtfully plan for additional enhancements to place Central Ohio's approach to crisis care at the forefront of evidence and best practices nationally. I'm joined tonight by my colleague, Mr. Jonathan Thomas, Vice President of Planning and Evaluation at ADAMH, to provide this council with additional details on the proposed Crisis Center as you consider your vote this evening.
Thank you, Erica, and good evening, everyone. So our planning for the Crisis Center has included researching best practices from across the country, even looking at recommendations from the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, out of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The evidence and emerging best practices informed the mix of services that we are co-locating on site to both establish the new crisis center as a leader in this space, but more importantly, to meet the growing needs of our community. The services on site will include a walk-in clinic, which is a level of care more appropriate for less acute episodes, crisis residential and inpatient capacity for more acute episodes that require a longer length of stay. And then the core service is what we would call crisis observation or stabilization, which is a unit we're planning that will co-locate also on-site medical care and the ability to treat co-occurring substance use disorders all in one location. Another critical element of the programming for the Crisis Center will be the capacity to bring community-based providers on site to facilitate linkage and what we like to call warm handoffs before someone is discharged back to community-based care. Local data indicate that we should anticipate over 28,000 encounters the first full year of operation at the Crisis Center. In looking at factors including the population growth that I know was referenced in earlier comments tonight, as well as forecasting demand specific to the growing need for behavioral healthcare services, we believe by year 10 that the facility will be serving around 34,000 encounters annually. Adam H. owns property on Harmon Avenue, just east of Franklin County Children's Services, for those of you who are familiar with that area. We've already had 2 preliminary site studies verify the property is viable for the new crisis center. We believe this location is not only optimal due to its central location in Franklin County, but we also considered factors like ease of access for both first responders and residents given a nearby bus stop. We have executed a contract with Hammis Company Healthcare just last week, bringing them on board as our owner's representative for the project, and they will guide us through the final planning, design, and construction of the Crisis Center. And the team that Hammis is bringing includes subcontracts with Ginger Cunningham and Associates, Velocity Construction Services, and a behavioral health design consultant, which we believe is bringing invaluable support to finish this project. So more detailed plans are being finalized with that Hammis team. As Erica said, we are looking at a groundbreaking in the next 12 months and services going live by 2024. I hope these additional details on our work provide some helpful context, and thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much, and certainly sharing the plans of our new crisis center with not only with the council, but also any of the residents that will be have been listening or viewing this meeting. This crisis center is certainly one that is truly needed in our community. And as you said, will have about 28,000 encounters year 1 and up to 34,000 encounters. And again, as Erica stated, this is absolutely about reimagining public safety. This is what the community has asked us to do. And this will serve as, again, the cornerstone of our community's continuum of crisis care and the preferred destination for mental health and addiction services. And it is intended to decompress hospital emergency departments with the ability to facilitate medical clearances and patient transfers. In addition, the Crisis Center will provide appropriate and efficient center for law enforcement to take individuals who will be treated at the Crisis Center, with programming designed to align to evidence-based practices to improve outcomes, resulting in fewer hospital admissions and reduced readmission rates. Our population Franklin County's population will grow by 8% over the next 10 years. And again, this Crisis Community Steering Committee estimates we will see a 23% increase in need for mental health and addiction services during that same period. The estimated total project budget, including planning and design, construction, fixtures, furnishings, and equipment, technology needs, and contingency, is initially estimated to be about $50 million. And this estimate is based on projected volumes and intended service offerings, with approximately 72,000 square feet planned for this crisis center. And again, to Erica Clark-Jones, the CEO, and Mr. Thomas, thank you for coming and certainly sharing the plans for this much-needed crisis center in our community. I also want to thank, again, the Director Stevens, the administration, the mayor, for moving this legislation forward and getting it to this place. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Well, seeing none, I move for passage.
No, I think, Chair, I think
Oh, I'm sorry.
Speaking, and I'll go after him.
I'm sorry. Is Councilman Brown? Is it who?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Brown.
My fingers don't work sometimes. But I have to pass along my overwhelming support for the relationship between law enforcement and Adam H. Over the years, that relationship has been so important with regards to dealing with the issues of mental health from a training perspective, but offering up an alternative to incarceration. And my hat's off to you, Erica, and to you, Jonathan, undeniably about the importance of having a crisis center to deal with those problems so that we don't have to take people to jail, so that we don't have to have unfortunate engagements where our law enforcement officers have to use force without understanding why the application is being involved. So thank you very, very much, and look forward to your continued success.
Thank you, Councilman Brown and Council President Harden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted, I had to jump in here to you. Thank you for your leadership, to Director Clark-Jones, to Mr. Thomas, and to all those who got us to this point. I have said time and time again in this moment of reform that there is nothing more important. Our top priority has to be standing up a fully functioning crisis response and an alternative crisis response bureau unit. And the truth is, the simple truth is, and I think Councilmember Tyson hit on this, Chair Tyson hit on this, we cannot do that if we don't also invest as much time, energy, and resources in the back of house support to make sure that those individuals who need that type of support have a place to go, and that our officers and that we have a call center that will allow us to do all this important work. And so again, you know, tonight we talked at the beginning of council, I talked about reimagining public safety and some ordinances that we're passing for this summer. This is the most critical piece to our reimagining public safety as we really move to set up that alternative crisis response bureau, again, to ensure that all of our residents get the appropriate response based off of their crises. This center will allow us to do that. I'm so thankful for the partnership and collaboration that has gone into this building and that will go into this building with the county, with all of our different partners. And just thank the administration for their leadership, and certainly to Madam Chair, thank you for moving this piece of legislation along.
Thank you, President Harden. I want to say I have to thank David Royer. Because this was started, David Royer. I want to thank Kevin Dixon, everyone over at Adam H. that helped to move this forward, and their board for this work. And you're right, it is absolutely about reimagining public safety. And again, it's all these pieces tonight, and the human service funding, because we also know that is key to how you help move people forward. And we definitely know how the role of social determinants of health play in thinking about reimagining public safety. So again, I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I will say President. I will say Director. President Clark-Jones. Yes.
No, you are right on. This project is a multi-year project. So many partners came together many years ago, and we feel like we got the baton and we are running our leg of it with all the support from several community partners. But I would be remiss if I did not take this opportunity to acknowledge your leadership, Chair Tyson, and that of Councilmember Mitch Brown, and just your legacy and history of leadership. It's been an honor to work with you and be touched by you in your outstanding careers. So congratulations on just a successful council career and community leadership. It's been a pleasure to work with you both.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, if there are no other questions or comments, I'm so excited to move this legislation forward. So I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. I'm now going to turn my committee over for the next ordinance to Councilmember Emmanuel Remy.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Tyson. Tonight I have ordinance number 892-2021 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a grant agreement with Alvis 180 in support of the Help and Reentry Employment Program to authorize an appropriation and expenditure within the Public Safety Initiative subfund of $250,000 and to declare an emergency. The HIRE program prepares restored citizens for employment through the provision of job readiness classes, job placement assistance, and wraparound case management services. Restored citizens returning to Columbus need assistance to obtain and retain employment to support themselves and their family. They face many barriers and can easily become discouraged, which can drive them to return to negative behaviors. The Annie E. Casey Foundation reports that incarceration is a destabilizer, pushing families teetering on the edge of financial disaster. The family left behind has been described as experiencing secondary prisonization. Most of these families live in poverty. Bruce Western, a Harvard sociologist, asserts that prison has become the new poverty trap. These families await the return of their loved one who will be, unfortunately, unemployed. A job can boost their self-confidence as they earn an income to keep them from depending on government support and from returning to the corrections system. A job also stabilizes their family and builds hope as they climb out of poverty. In addition, the Alvis Workforce Development Program includes case management services with referrals to address housing needs and food insecurity. Upon referral to HIRE by other Alvis programs, social service providers, probation, parole, or self-referral, clients attend orientation and meet with a workforce development specialist. Together, they review existing assessments and complete their other assessments, including literacy, to determine readiness for employment. Clients then attend higher education, a 5-day job readiness and retention training conducted by workforce development specialists, which include topics such as employment goals, career paths, job market, networking, resumes, cover letters, applications, job search techniques, interview skills, cultural diversity, employer expectations, and appropriate workforce behavior and safety. Workforce development specialists meet again with participants to offer resume assistance and moral support. GED classes are available for those who have not yet earned a high school diploma. Placement assistance in partnership with Alvis Network of area employers is offered as clients launch their job search. Wraparound services supported by other resources include case management, retention support, industry recognized certifications, financial literacy, substance use disorder treatment, recovery, cognitive behavioral therapy, and a clothing closet. I believe that Councilmember Brown might have a few words to say to this particular ordinance. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Councilman Remy. The higher education program addresses all three of City Council's funding priorities by preparing justice-involved adults for employment by 1, providing a pathway out of poverty, 2, accessing good-paying jobs, 3, building strong neighborhoods. This funding will support job training and education for nearly 700 residents with a justice background. Based on results from previous year's programs, 70% of participants who have found employment or continued education within 90 days of completing the program. Can't go wrong. I'll turn it back over to you, Councilman Remy.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Brown. Are there any other comments or questions from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage by voice.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Abstain?
President Hart?
Yes, passed.
I'll turn the floor back over to Chair Tyson.
Thank you, Councilman Remy. And the final ordinance that I have in Health and Human Services this evening is ordinance number 893-2021, and it is $50,000 within the to authorize the director of the Department of Development to enter into an agreement with the Lutheran Social Services in support of the choices of victims of domestic violence, to authorize an appropriation, an expenditure of $50,000 within the Reimagine Safety Fund, and to authorize a transfer between the sub-funds of the general fund, and to authorize an appropriation expenditure of $50,000 within the general fund, and to declare an emergency. Choices for victims of domestic violence will use the grant funds to support the shelter advocate staff in the shelter and on the hotline. Target constituencies include victims of domestic and dating violence and their families who must flee from their home for safety. Safe Shelter is a proven intervention to enhance the safety of domestic violence victims. Deliverables, include shelter for up to 144 adults and children each night, and with 700 unique individuals served in 2021. And Choices anticipates responding to approximately 4,500 crisis hotline calls in 2021. Again, Council President Hart, do you want to make any additional comments? Again, this is another way of reimagining public safety.
Well, real quick then. Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, this is, as the Chair said, a continuation of our reimagining safety efforts. Specifically, in more than one of our town halls that we held last month during our budget, a couple months ago now, through our budget process, we heard the impacts and the real need for additional support for domestic violence advocates. Choices has long been an amazing partner in our region, working to protect women and families who are victims of domestic violence. And when they put in this request for additional funding, we quickly moved this through and amended our budget. This was one of the budget amendments that specifically came out of our reimagining safety hearings. And I thank Councilmember Tyson for shepherding it through.
Thank you, President Hart. And as you know, based upon the numbers I just stated, is that that Choices had to also just expand their facility based on the number of individuals that are having to come to their facility seeking not only shelter, but shelter and to get away from the violence within their household. So if there are no other questions or comments, I move for passage.
Good. Second? Did we have a second? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hart.
Pass.
Thank you. That concludes the Health and Human Services agenda this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The final committee to come before council is the Small Minority Business Committee. I chair that committee. In the Small Minority Business Committee this evening, I have ordinance 0854-2021. It's to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to execute a grant agreement with Maroon Arts Group for the sponsorship of Pitch Black Columbus events. To authorize an appropriation expenditure of $15,000 from the Jobs Growth Subfund and to declare an emergency. The Maroon Arts Group is hosting a series of events called Pitch Black, where residents will have the opportunity to present civic, cultural, or cooperative business pilot projects to their peers. The funds from the ticket sales will be invested in these community projects. I'm happy to match those ticket sales with up to $15,000 to help amplify these ideas and ventures. The first Pitch Black event is this Sunday, April 11th at 6 p.m. Do any of my colleagues have any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you. Seeing no further business come before council, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Council is adjourned. The